I mean, it's very visionary and big thing, and it screams for a pitch. And I think you do all this all the time already, right? So you were traveling around and pitch it to.
Yeah, but there's always better ways to do it. You know, there's always ways to be effective, and also one pitch doesn't fit all audiences. So it's a challenge with, you know, limited resources and time to, you know, to be that nimble with the message.
Mhm.
But you know, we've been doing the best we can over the years.
Yeah. So I mean, in the end, the collective as it is right now is a group that exists for several years, right? So is it possible to volunteer on that or to help you out on certain things if you need?
Oh yeah, we do, because the challenges that we've had with the project, in addition to the things you've heard about, you know, politically, financially, I mean, not so much engineering and so forth, but is just having a stable of people who have a good knowledge about the project. And unfortunately, you know, we just lost our founder, George.
Yeah,
Kumal.
I have heard that. Yeah.
And we knew that would happen someday, but when the day comes, it's, you know, it's a reality check that reminds us this project is bigger than any of us. And so as Rick alludes to in concluding his film, you know, this is something we hope will inspire more straight guys and gals, you know, to get involved. And we do need to get more people involved to have the situational awareness to carry this project forward. So yeah, I appreciate your interest to do that. I mean, obviously we don't have any financing, but it will come. It will come. Actually, what we're doing right now is an effort that you may have some advice for. We're working on developing an InterContinental Railway development study group with various universities and colleges around the world. So we have several in the United States, Canada. Our friend Victor Rezbegin is working on some that he knows in Russia. And so our whole thought is that their access to various grants and funding programs and foundation funding could serve the purpose for what we need to do, and really expand the working knowledge beyond, you know, just ourselves. My son just walked in my office. Hey, Daniel, what you looking for? You know what you're gonna get? Okay.
Krishen, what kind of what could you contribute? What's your real expertise?
I mean, I'd say my chosen expertise is business design. So that the idea is to find business opportunities, like doing research on markets, on user needs, and when I saw the proposal for the Strait Tunnel, I was like, yeah, that obviously there are several needs. So you pointed that out on your website too, like you have all the cargo shipping right now, which takes time and costs money and is bad for the environment. And things like this are great arguments to open up business cases. And what I do is not just to design the business case, so how to make it a viable project, but also to build product prototypes. So I do this for startups normally. So I work in 2 startups, one in the US and one here in Germany. And I design the product, but also do user research interviews a lot, try to refine the solution, try to define the market. So these are normally things that I do. And from what I understood, this is more than just a railway. This is also the opportunity to implement new technologies, especially in the railway world. There are so many startups right now that are working on very interesting ideas how to do. They work on autonomous trains. I think you are familiar with that, Scott, right? You're I saw you are also rooted in that sphere, in the technological sphere. So what I try basically is to paint a bigger vision and to make it tangible. People that are not familiar with technical things, with business things. So yeah, I would describe this as what I, as a business designer, try to do. To put everything in a pitch deck in the end, which sells the idea and sells the product and convinces.
You can package it in a marketable way.
Right. Yes.
Package that you could package the Intercontinental Railway as a
right.
something that everyone wants. Everyone has to have.
Yeah, the pitch deck. The pitch deck is very important, and we really haven't worked on developing a sophisticated pitch deck. We've really put together an informational one that you see on our website, but it's not one that is providing decision-making information, although I've modified it for a lot of audiences and done well, I think, with it, you know, whether it be the public that we presented to across Alaska, the World Trade Council, or I modified one for the State Department, and it went very well as far as bringing them up to speed. So that would be helpful, yeah. So what I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, just send me an email again so I have it in front of me.
Yes.
Of your contact information. Well, yes. You'll be moving to Berlin, right?
Yes, next week.
Great.
I'm moving.
Great. Hey, keep in mind when you're in Berlin, this September, there's a phenomenal trade show. You know how the airline industry has the Paris and London air shows every 2 years. Well, every 2 years in the rail industry is InnoTrans right there in Berlin. And we were there in 2018. But it's phenomenal. I mean, before COVID, it would bring in over 140,000 attendees from so many countries around the world. But it's a good place to sort of get a pulse of the industry internationally, and then on some specific technical things. Like we spent a lot of time with a tunnel engineering firm and looking over the challenges that we have with the Bering Strait Tunnel. So depending on this COVID situation, you know, I'm planning to be there myself in September, but it doesn't look good right now in terms of how the numbers are going. And I can't even get my nonstops to Germany on Lufthansa anymore out of Philadelphia.
Really? They
discontinued, you know, because as traffic is down so much, they've discontinued flights. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but we'll see. I hope to be there in September. We'll see.
Yeah, I've noted it. So the name InnoTrans, I knew that. I wasn't aware that it's about the railroad industry, but I knew the name of the fair at least. Yeah, I'd love to come around. Yeah, I'm gonna send you an email if you like to. I can also send you some examples of cases that I've worked on or are still working on. I mean, this is probably the most technical topic, but also the most visionary on the other side also.
Well, thank you. So what attracted you to the Intercontinental Railway? I mean, I appreciate you taking an interest to get involved, and I'll warn you, it will consume time and money, as it has for all of us over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay.
You get sucked in.
Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, there were times where I laid in my bed in the evening and I tried to find people. So in my vision back in the day, it was always like, there needs to be something like a tunnel from London to New York, or a bridge. And when I found out, when engineers explained that's not possible because of the depth in the ocean and volcanic activity and stuff, I was like, okay, wow, there's another way around the world to connect the continents. Wonderful. And that's how I found you. And yeah, as soon as I saw the website and trailer from Rick, I was like, yeah, that's exactly this. And finally, somebody actually works on that and try to make this reality. And I really love the vision behind that. And I do see that if this becomes reality one day, it, yeah, will have such an impact on the world, and bring continents together, basically, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Together.
Well, a couple of things I just want to give you an observation here. First of all, I hope the website was informative for you, because you know, we try to put a lot of information there, and the news feed to give you a perspective of what we've been doing over the years. But the business case is very important to make here, and I don't think we have that very well represented on the website. However, although I know the business case needs to be developed more thoroughly, I'm convinced on this measure alone that the project is very feasible. And that is, we saw a glimpse of it with these supply chain problems and the ships stacking up outside of North American ports. We know in the last 100 years how global commerce has grown because of international shipping, particularly the standardization of containers. If we look where the economy of the world can grow in the next 100 years, the capacity for trans-Pacific shipping is not going to keep up. If you look at the configuration of ports now in Asia, in China, they may think nothing of, you know, just tearing up land to expand ports. But in North America, you know, we have various emphasis on private property rights and environmental impact statements and so forth. So to create the port capacity that's going to be necessary over the next 100 years, even if you could find the land around the major cities of LA and San Francisco and Seattle to expand, environmentally, there's going to be a lot of resistance to tearing up more land on the West Coast for ports. So, and even if you got through all those hurdles, the cost of expanding those ports to absorb the growth in trans-Pacific shipping will exceed the $100 billion plus cost of the InterContinental Railway. And then the other trade-off factor is environmentally, the cost is going to be much higher, and the operating cost environmentally will be much higher, because we know we can run the InterContinental Railway on zero carbon energy sources such as hydroelectric, wind, and solar, which you can't do with trans-Pacific shipping. So when you put all these factors together, you know, from a feasibility point of view, I'm confident this railway is going to succeed. And then the other comparison I make is when you look at the transcontinental railroad that was built in the 19th century across America, there was no economic justification to do that. I mean, all you had was the San Francisco market from all the way to Omaha. There was nothing. And it took more than 10 years for economic development to catch up with the traffic volume levels, both in freight and passengers, to even begin breaking even on the transcontinental railway. So that railroad didn't even justify itself. It was a political decision, obviously, that President Lincoln led to unite the nation and our resources. And it was a good decision, but it just was certainly premature economically. But the Intercontinental Railway, day one, I've already heard from trade agencies like the Association of American Railroads, they agree with our assessment. Some of the busiest freight railroad lines in the United States are carrying at least 100 million gross tons of freight a year. Those are some of the major ones in the United States. The Association of American Railroads is convinced that that first year that the Intercontinental Railway opens, will have at least that much flowing through the tunnels. Why? Because unlike the Transcontinental Railway, we already have existing centers of global commerce already ready to roll and connect. We don't have to wait for that economic activity to develop. So those are reasons why, once we get the feasibility studies done, I'm confident this railway is going to check out to be remarkable in every way. And I've said to people many times, it's not a question of will this ever be built? It will be built. But the next question is going to be, well, why didn't we do this sooner? It's just incredible,
I mean, the idea floats around like 100 years now, from what I understood, right? And
over 100.
Over 100 years, yeah.
I'm sorry. What was your question there, Krishen?
The idea itself, like connecting the continents, is around for
150 years.
Since 80. Yeah.
1860.
Was I informed right that Putin gave his check on the project before?
Yes.
Before?
Internally, he authorized the project to proceed, but then and even during our visit, they were constantly looking for indications from the United States of willingness to work together, and we never reciprocated. That was a failure. We tried. I had several meetings with the State Department, briefing them, but it's unfortunate where we are right now with this situation in Ukraine. And I don't know if you saw the interview that Rick and I gave on Renegade Inc. If you haven't, we got to make sure you have the link.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh yeah, you got to watch it.
Pop it up.
It definitely was the most difficult interview I've ever given. I almost didn't do it because I was just so upset about this situation. But it was aired in Russian. I thought it was important to speak in that way to Russians, and you'll see the interview that Rick and I gave.
Put in the chat.
Wonderful, thanks.
Oh yeah, there it is in the chat. Okay, thanks, Rick. So, but as we said in that interview, human nature is such, and I think the reaction to this film is going to be such, well, interesting idea, but that project's dead. And my initial reaction was that way too, when all these events came out on February 24th. But the more I thought about it, the more I recognized we can't let misguided decisions destroy a vision that we know is going to be so important. As the fundamentals in our logo say, peace, progress, and prosperity. You can't let that be destroyed by such horrific, short-sighted decisions. And this project is bigger than any of us. It's bigger than any leader. And as such, it's got to be handled that way. And we're going to need a way to bring the world together in a way that we are constructing things together rather than destroying things and rebuilding. And so I see this project as being a key way for the United States and Russia to successfully coexist and grow together, as well as the other nations connected like China and Canada and others to work together. So it will get through this, but the uncertainty is how much time are we going to be lost? I don't know. But there's a lot of work to be done behind the scenes, and I'm hopeful that the effort with the universities can make some productive use of this holding pattern that we're in.
Mhm. So the idea with the universities is that they work on projects that are getting funded and aiming towards the big idea.
Right. So there are a lot of questions about the project that have to be defined in detail. Well, number one, we need expertise, and we got to find someone who can do this, although we know a couple of universities that say they can do this. We need to digitize documents that were developed, and notes and meeting information and drawings that were created over the last 30 years, but no one has easy access to them. And some of them are in Russian that need to be translated to English. So we need to digitize these documents so that we can bring others into this project and get them up to speed. That's number one. And as I said, sadly, we lost our founder, George Kamal, and we're seeking to get the documentation he has digitized as well. So the universities would be involved in that effort to make them searchable documents and in more than just English or Russian language, because we need to have it in Chinese as well. We're going to look to get a university in China involved as well. And then the other areas that the universities are involved with is all the various disciplines that are associated with the project. Obviously, track engineering, tunnel engineering, bridge engineering, railroad operations, market evaluations. Then we have to look at environmental considerations, and we have to look at various issues related to the native populations along the route. We have to do an analysis of resource access, is that we can access responsibly along the route, and minerals and other resources. We have to evaluate the ability of the project to unite these countries and the intermediate communities with utilities access, whether that be water, power, telecommunications. These are all fundamentals about the project. Then, of course, the financing of it. And then, so to do this, these universities, we're going to have to use multiple funding sources, both foundations, grants, and so forth, depending on the home countries and universities. But I do know before this conflict broke out in Ukraine, I've had several supply chain shippers reach out to us saying, gosh, I wish your tunnel was in place now. We're so fouled up on the Pacific. Yeah. And the cost of containers went from 3,000 to 7,000 a container to multiples of 20, 30, and 40,000 a container. And regardless of loads, just to get empty containers back, it was so fouled up. So these supply chain shippers perhaps will be a source of resources for the university research effort. Mm-hmm. So I'd like this group to, answer all the questions we haven't been able to answer already, because, the challenge of a mega project like this is you got to respect the fact that you don't know what you don't know. And it's a big challenge. I know people say, well, you're an expert in this. Well, not really. I mean, there's still a lot of things I'm working to learn on here. And that's probably the best way to make the project successful, is to approach things in a learning way. As you saw in the film, that's the approach we took with the people that we met, to listen and learn from them, regardless of some of the differences we might have,
You haven't watched the film yet, have you, Krishen?
I've bought it accidentally for €5 a few minutes ago, but when I saw,
you just signed up. You just signed up.
Yeah, I signed up.
You didn't have to pay anything.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing that. But you'll be able to watch that you'll be able to watch that through May 30th. So
yeah, so I'm going to be at the premiere at the second.
oh, you're gonna be there. That's right.
Yeah, you're gonna be the premiere.
I wanted to watch it there the first time.
Be a big.
Oh yeah. To get the theatrical effect is got to be great. That's smart.
We've got some special surprise guests coming too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I won't say any reveal anymore.
No. And what's a premiere without that, right?
Yeah, but yeah, I mean the questions, of course, that you just raised. Yeah, I'm no expert on any of that. So.
Oh, I forgot to mention the other big thing that I was talking to universities in Switzerland about, because they have a lot of expertise in international relations. We need researchers to do work on international, the treaty that we're going to need. The treaty that we're going to need.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so that treaty is vital between the United States, Canada, Russia, and in order to attract subsequent work and investment in the project, that the full faith and credit of the countries are committed.
I mean,
So the universities are going to work on international, the framework for this treaty, which all the parties I've spoken to in Russia and United States, the congressional members that I've met with, the State Department, they've all agreed about the treaty. And the treaty, there was an agreement that was necessary, to get the cooperation together for the International Space Station. So basically, that's our poster child for this project. And despite the situation in our relationship with Russia, that is still flying forward. But the ISS, certainly will be decommissioned at some point in the coming years, and we see this project as replicating that success on Earth, providing down-to-earth benefits. So we want to use that program as a model, politically and in terms of teamwork of advancing this project.
Yeah, I mean, right now with Russia, is it thinkable that the US, especially the US, goes in on such a treaty with Russia and the course Russia has right now?
Not now. No, it won't happen unless let's look at this. Even in the United States, whoever's president of the United States is not there forever. And so when there's leadership changes, there'll be new opportunities. And there's going to be a need for new opportunities to bring all these countries together and heal past this horrific chain of events. And this project is, I think, a vital way to achieve the potential that we all believe that Russia and America and the other countries have. We got to rise above what has happened here, rather than just the common reaction. And you may see this at the premiere or whatever, is forget about it. I don't want to deal with them. But I think I have a much healthier perspective because of having known Viktor Razbegin over the years. And as you'll see in the film, all the people that I met in Russia, great people who are passionate about this project too. And they deserve to see it happen. I just don't believe we should just walk away and say, forget it. That's not fair to them. They certainly don't support what has happened, and we can rise above it together.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think I also think the long I don't know how to say it in English. The long breath. It's a German proverb. To have a
The long-term perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But when you see the interview on Renegade, Rick gave an interesting answer to the question about America, because we have a problem in pursuing long-term objectives and accomplishments. But I think Rick gave an excellent idea of the problems that our political system has in crippling long-term vision, unfortunately.
The Renegade website also has just a lot of good background information about the
They did a nice
film
job.
and Intercontinental Railway, and they pulled a lot of quotes out of our interview. They did a very nice job creating this website, this page about it. So
yeah,
even if you don't have a chance to watch the interview, you can kind of like skim through the website, and there's some interesting content there.
No, I will. Save me the link, and I'm gonna watch it afterwards. So
I'll have to say, when I was in Alaska last month for the North American premiere of the film, I spent some time with Meade Treadwell, who used to be the lieutenant governor of Alaska, so like the vice-governor, and he's heavily involved in the Alaska to Alberta Railway, A to A, which would connect Alaska to Alberta, Canada, to the existing system there, because Alaska has no rail connection to Canada or to the lower 48, to the continental United States. And that A to A railroad is there's some financial problems with it yet. It's kind of on hold at the moment. The border crossing permit was issued to between the US and Canada, but there's some complications involved. And he said, Rick, I think this Intercontinental Railway will eventually get built, but it's going to be built incrementally, like bit by bit. It might not ever actually get like approval as this full Harbin, China to Edmonton, Canada route that Scott and the guys are proposing. It might just be bit by bit. Like the Russians are already extending their rail towards the Pacific coast. And if this A to A section gets built, and Alaska is actually connected to Canada and the US by rail, and also to Mexico and down into Central America, it would make a lot more sense to do the Bering Strait part. So that's kind of my hope, that it does, that the more that gets built and the shorter the distance becomes between the two endpoints, I think it becomes easier to make the leap to build the whole thing.
I mean, if it's in the end just 100 kilometers of the strait, then I think that's not the easiest, but definitely not the hardest part of the whole thing, right?
No, but it's very powerful. This project has a lot of challenges, but as you'll see in the film, there is a guy that is just boundless in his energy and encouragement. And we lost him as well, the mayor of Nome, Richard Benneville. But we were standing on a mountain, and he is a Broadway show guy, and he just told me, what he had to do on stage to get in the moment, get into the character, was to visualize in order to pull things off the set. He says, you got to do the same thing in this project. You got to visualize these trains moving across these lands. When you're standing on the Bering Strait, visualize that all these trains are running beneath your feet in this massive tunnel connecting the world. And all I can tell you is it was very powerful, for me to be at Wales there at the Bering Strait, or to be at on the island of Little Diomede, to realize this will happen, and it will be very powerful. But visualizing is what we need to do to overcome, these situations we're facing. Hey, Rick, I just realized the time it is, so I got to wrap up here in just the next couple of minutes. But you guys can continue,